Well, thank you all for being here. This is great. I'm in organizational communication, so I do one of our Com 161 mass lectures, and we run anywhere between 90 to 150, depending on the semester and the class. And I've had both of those ranges, and to be honest with you, once you get kind of above 60, 70, it kind of doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just a lot of people. So I've got kind of three things I was going to talk about, and maybe it's kind of a good thing that I went first, because I think mine are going to be real general and just real overall kind of things to think about. The first thing I would say is to just to be yourself. And I've said this in other conferences and panels and things, but I think it's so extremely important to just be yourself, be sincere. When you have a group that large, when you're teaching to that many people, students certainly can tell when you're trying to be something you're not, and students certainly can feel when you're not being genuine. And so my take on it is always be yourself, always be genuine, always be sincere, and that will take you a long way in relating to that mass of people that you have there. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of teaching is to build trust, because if they don't trust you, they're not going to learn. They're not going to buy into anything you're saying. And so the first and the most basic way to do that is to be yourself. The other thing about that, I would say, is it should help keep you calm and relaxed. I've heard some of our junior faculty who will take on the mass lecture, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I've never taught this many people before at one time. And so again, I would say, well, just be yourself, just relax, and when you're not trying to be something you're not, things go smoother, and things go better. And I know all that sounds kind of dumb and kind of like a no, obviously, Dave. But I have seen other people try to be really dynamic when maybe they're kind of subdued, or people who are real kind of excited kind of tone it down, and it doesn't always work. Now, we certainly have to temper those things, but trying to overdo any one of those things, again, just probably won't work very well. The second thing I would say is, and I might get a little bit of trouble for this, but change our thinking. In other words, instead of seeing this as a mass lecture, I kind of see it as a performance. And I see myself, specifically, I see myself as a frustrated comedian. And so I'll go in there thinking, hey, you are our captive audience, and I'm going to throw in some jokes into my lecture, and we're going to try to get some response. And so it's certainly, it's an ego thing for me, but it certainly helps me going into the lecture if I view it as more of a performance, more of a little bit of a show. Now, does that mean I'm not teaching them content? Not at all. Does that mean we're not testing them and doing all the things we're supposed to be doing? Not at all. But certainly keeping an audience that large engaged is kind of a trick. And so I will, and it's one of those where even if I have a joke and I'll throw it out there and it's a dumb joke or it bombs or anything, well, you just make fun of that, like it's just a good thing I'm not a comedian, ha ha ha, whatever. And so just changing your mental attitude about going into a mass lecture like that, or a mass audience. Certainly it makes it more enjoyable. It makes it more fun for you, and when you're having fun, again, people see that, people feel that, and then they start having fun, and then hopefully that turns into a little bit more intrinsic learning. Learning because they want to learn, not learning because they don't want to fail the test, or not learning because they have to, or not learning out of fear, but learning because, hey, I like going to lecture, it's fun. Gesler tells some jokes, he's kind of crazy sometimes. I mean, I'm standing still right now, but in Rather Auditorium, and it's a kind of a wide stage that we have, I tend to be kind of like a caged tiger sometimes, and I'm bouncing all over the place depending on the day. So again, that performance, that thought that it's not just a lecture. And then the last thing is, this might be my most specific kind of tip, and again, it might seem just kind of obvious, but eye contact. Even with a mass audience like that, I still try to hit eyes all the time. I'm always looking at eyes in the audience. The great thing is, you know, the COM 161 material hasn't changed too much in 17, 18 years. And so I don't often have to reference my notes, and so I can just keep rolling with content while looking at eyes and really making a connection. And we've all been to those concerts, we've all been to those shows where the performer, it could be to 20,000 people, but the performer makes you feel like you're the only one in the room. And that's kind of what I try to get across. When I'm looking at eyes, I've got eye contact, facial expressions, all that kind of stuff. Trying to make everybody feel special, make everybody feel like they're the only ones in the room. And make it so I try to make it seem like I'm talking specifically to each individual person in the room as well. So that means, yeah, you gotta work the eyes. You gotta scan the room, and also that builds up your confidence. Be confident in when you're doing that as well. So those were just a few of my kind of more general techniques to help teach the mass lecture, mass classes.